You feel it creeping in, that familiar tug, the sudden urge that pulls you towards something you know isn't good for you. It whispers promises of satisfaction, of fulfillment, but you know deep down it's a lie. You've fought it before only to fall again and again. Lust isn't just an impulse, it's a predator, lurking in the shadows of your mind, preying on your weaknesses, your loneliness, your unspoken desires. It convinces you that this is who you are, that you're destined to chase these fleeting pleasures, that you have no choice but to give in. But what if I told you that every time you fall, you're not just losing a moment of control, you're losing pieces of your soul? What if the real question isn't why you fall, but how this force has hijacked your mind and your identity? You've been living in a lie, trapped in a cycle that was never meant for you, and it's time to understand why. It's time to face the truth behind your battle with lust, and finally break free. This is not just about desire. This is about reclaiming your power, your purpose, your freedom. The unseen battle within. Lust doesn't simply show up uninvited. It plants itself quietly like a seed, and it grows in the spaces where we are weakest. Every time you fall into its grip, it is not a single act of weakness. It's a moment in a war that has been waged on your soul from the very start. And this battle, unlike any other, doesn't have a clear enemy. The enemy is not external, it's internal. It's the battle between who you were made to be and the forces that try to tell you who you should be. Lust isn't just a desire for pleasure, it is a distortion of your very identity. It preys on your need for validation, for significance, for meaning in a world that constantly distracts you from your true purpose. At first it appears harmless, an innocent thought, an easy escape, a temporary satisfaction, but then it grows stronger, feeds off the emptiness you try to hide, and subtly takes control of your life. Lust isn't just an external force, it's an internal one. And unless you realize this, you'll keep falling, as it becomes harder to separate who you are from the desires that twist and control you. This battle isn't something that happens just in the privacy of your own mind. It plays out in the world around you. Every advertisement, every image, every seductive message that slips past your defenses is a small strike against your will. The world feeds you the illusion that lust is normal, that it's unavoidable, even natural. But that's where the deception lies. Lust isn't natural, it's a distortion. It's a counterfeit version of love, of intimacy, of connection, designed to lead you astray. Every time you fall, it feels like you've lost a piece of yourself. That's because you have. Lust is a thief. It steals your dignity, your peace, and your clarity. It convinces you that this is who you are, that these cravings define you, that there's nothing you can do but give in. And yet each time you yield, you find yourself emptier, weaker, further from the person you were meant to be. It's not just a momentary lapse, it's a gradual erosion of your identity. It whispers that you'll be satisfied, that this is what you need, but when it's over, all you're left with is regret, guilt, and a deeper longing. This is why the battle is unseen. It doesn't show up in grand battles or obvious fights. It's the quiet, invisible war that plays out in the recesses of your mind and soul. Lust doesn't need to throw you into chaos. It only needs to whisper at the right moment, to catch you in the middle of a vulnerable thought, and then it takes root. You think you're just living your life, but you're being pulled further away from your true self. Every time you fall, it pulls you deeper into a world where your value is reduced to fleeting desires and empty satisfaction. But here's the truth. You don't have to keep falling. This battle can be won, but only if you see it for what it truly is, a war for your soul. And the first step is recognizing that it's not about resisting temptation in isolation. It's about changing how you see yourself, how you see the world, and how you fight back. Lust can only thrive if you believe the lies it feeds you. When you recognize that these desires are not who you are, when you confront the deeper emptiness within you, you begin to take back control. This isn't a battle for just one moment of clarity. It's a battle for the entirety of your life, for your peace, your purpose, and your true self. The battle within is not just between flesh and spirit. It's between who you are and who the world tells you to be. Lust is not your true identity. Your true identity is far more powerful, far more meaningful. You were made for more than empty indulgence. You were made for purpose, for connection, for strength. And it's time to stop living in the illusion that these desires are your fate. You can rise above this battle. The moment you stop seeing lust as a simple temptation and start recognizing it as the silent, destructive force it is, you take the first step toward reclaiming your life. The battle may be unseen, but it's not unwinnable. 2. The nature of lust, the silent, all-consuming enemy. Lust is often misunderstood. We think of it as just an overwhelming desire or a fleeting moment of weakness, something that comes and goes without much consequence. But the truth is, lust is far more insidious. It is a silent, all-consuming enemy that operates beneath the surface, hiding in plain sight, disguised as harmless desire. At first, it appears to be a simple craving, but in reality, it's a destructive force that feeds off your vulnerabilities and erodes your sense of self. The first thing you need to understand about lust is that it doesn't simply want your body, it wants your mind, your heart, your very soul. Lust convinces you that true fulfillment lies in momentary pleasure, in the pursuit of instant gratification. It plays on your fears, your insecurities, and your deepest longings, twisting them into something that feels good in the moment, but leaves you hollow afterward. What begins as a harmless thought or a fleeting image becomes a full-blown obsession, drawing you deeper into its grasp. One of the most dangerous aspects of lust is how it distorts reality. It promises satisfaction, yet it never delivers. It leads you to believe that if you just give in one more time, you'll feel complete, whole, or even at peace. But that's the lie. Lust never satisfies. It only deepens the void it claims to fill. Each time you indulge, you get momentary relief, but it's always short-lived, leaving you craving more. The more you feed it, the stronger it becomes, until it starts to control your actions, thoughts, and desires. Lust doesn't just consume your time and energy, it consumes your very identity. This is where the real danger lies. Lust doesn't just aim to control your behavior, it seeks to redefine who you are. It convinces you that you are defined by your cravings, that your value is tied to your ability to satisfy them. It whispers that you are nothing more than your desires, and that fulfillment can only be found in temporary pleasure. The problem is, this is a lie. You were never meant to be defined by your desires. You are not your life. You are a person with a higher calling, with a deeper purpose than mere fleeting satisfaction. What makes lust even more dangerous is its ability to hide in the shadows of your mind, to operate beneath your conscious awareness. You may think you're in control, that you can stop at any time, but the reality is that lust is a force that shapes your thinking, your choices, and your worldview without you even realizing it. It's like a slow-burning fire that starts small but over time spreads uncontrollably. It doesn't appear as something monstrous or overtly destructive at first. Instead, it's subtle, luring you in with false promises and instant gratification. This stealthy nature of lust makes it harder to recognize and even harder to resist. It doesn't require you to be in a particular place or with a particular person for it to take root. Lust is constantly fed by the things you see, hear, and think. In today's world, where sexual images and provocations are everywhere, lust has a nearly endless supply of fuel to keep it alive. Social media, advertising, even everyday interactions can trigger it. And each time you entertain a lustful thought, each time you entertain the temptation, you feed this monster, allowing it to grow stronger. Furthermore, lust thrives in isolation. The more you keep it to yourself, the more you hide your struggle, the more power it gains over you. The enemy is not just the lustful thought itself, but the secrecy that surrounds it. Lust thrives in darkness. When you keep your struggles hidden, you allow it to flourish unchecked, growing more insidious and controlling over time. This is why breaking free from lust requires not only resistance, but transparency. You cannot fight an invisible enemy in isolation. You must bring it into the light, face it, and confront it head-on. But the real reason why lust is so all-consuming is that it shifts your focus away from what truly matters. It pulls you into a spiral of temporary pleasure, distancing you from the deeper, more meaningful connections and joys in life. When your mind is consumed by lust, it becomes harder to focus on your goals, your relationships, your purpose. Your energy is drained by something that in the end offers nothing of true value. Lust doesn't just steal your time, it steals your potential. Lust is not just an enemy of the body, but of the mind and soul. It distorts your perception of reality, strips you of your true identity, and holds you captive in a cycle of endless craving. It consumes your mind, your spirit, and your sense of self, until you are left feeling empty, disconnected, and far from the person you were meant to be. Understanding the nature of lust is the first step in breaking free from it. Only when you recognize its true destructive power can you begin to fight back and reclaim the life and identity that are rightfully yours. 3. The legacy of temptation echoes through time. The legacy of temptation is not a new struggle. It is a timeless affliction, one that has echoed through the ages, ensnaring even the greatest minds, the most powerful figures, and the most revered heroes of history. Temptation is not just a personal challenge, it is a force that transcends time, culture, and circumstance, weaving itself into the fabric of human existence. It's the same force that entangles you now, just as it ensnared the minds and souls of those who came before you. The story of temptation begins long before any of us were born, in ancient civilizations and biblical accounts, where great figures wrestled with the very same desires that now grip us. Think of King David, one of the most respected and mighty kings in biblical history. David, a man after God's own heart, was not defeated by external enemies or armies, but by an internal, seemingly harmless temptation. One evening, as he stood upon the roof of his palace, he saw Bathsheba bathing. He could have turned away. He could have resisted the urge to act on that sight, but he didn't. He pursued what he wanted, and in doing so, he lost more than just a moment of control. He lost his peace, his integrity, and nearly his kingdom. His lapse into temptation set off a chain of events that led to betrayal, murder, and ultimately the downfall of his family. Lust didn't just steal a moment from him, it altered the course of his legacy. David's story is not an isolated one. History is filled with the accounts of men and women whose greatness was marred by the pull of temptation. Take the story of Samson, the mighty warrior who was empowered by God to defeat his enemies. Samson's downfall, however, wasn't at the hands of a physical opponent, but through the hands of Delilah, a woman who seduced him, who used his desires against him. Samson, like David, was consumed by his own cravings, thinking he could control them. His strength wasn't his downfall. His inability to control his lust was. He revealed the secret of his power, and in doing so, he lost everything: his strength, his freedom, and his purpose. Samson's downfall is a stark reminder that lust doesn't just weaken you in the moment, it strips you of everything that gives you power and purpose. The legacy of temptation stretches beyond ancient scriptures and kings. Look at the stories of more recent figures, men and women who rose to the heights of influence, only to fall into the same traps. Public figures, artists, politicians, and icons, who seemed untouchable, were all brought to their knees by the same temptations we face today. Think of the great entertainers of the 20th century, who lived lives of excess, falling into patterns of self-destruction, all driven by the relentless pull of instant gratification and pleasure. The more they sought to fill the emptiness, the more they gave into their desires, and in doing so, they ultimately destroyed the very thing that made them great: their integrity, their relationships, and their sense of self-worth. This legacy is passed down, not just through grand historical figures, but through each of us. The temptations we face today are no different than those faced by kings, warriors, and celebrities. What we are fighting today is not a new battle, it is the same war that humanity has fought for centuries. Lust has always existed as a tool of destruction, a weapon of self-sabotage, and it continues to prey on the vulnerable, the ambitious, and the lonely. It takes many forms, and it often masquerades as something harmless, even attractive, but it is, in essence, a destroyer of legacies. The question then is not whether temptation will come. It will. The question is how you will respond to it. Will you, like David, indulge in what you know to be destructive, believing that it will bring you satisfaction? Will you, like Samson, give in to fleeting pleasures that strip you of your strength and purpose? Or will you break the cycle, learning from the past, and rise above the desires that threaten to rob you of everything you hold dear? The legacy of temptation is not only one of destruction, but also of opportunity. Each person who falls leaves a lesson behind, a warning, and a chance to learn from their mistakes. The echoes of their temptations can serve as a reminder: we do not have to repeat history, we can choose a different path. We can rewrite our legacy by learning from the past, rejecting the same temptations that have caused so much pain, and stepping into the power and purpose we were always meant to embrace. If you're tired of battling lust and want to break free once and for all, I've got something powerful for you. 7 Biblical Secrets to Destroy Lust is a game-changing guide that uncovers the wisdom and strength found in Scripture to help you overcome temptation for good. This isn't just about willpower, it's about tapping into a divine power that empowers you to reclaim your life. Ready to take control? Click the link in the description and grab your copy now. Don't wait, freedom is just one click away. 4. The Struggle for Freedom: How Lust Feeds and Grows Stronger. The struggle for freedom from lust is not just a battle of willpower. It's a war against an insidious force that grows stronger the more you feed it. Lust doesn't just appear as an isolated temptation. It's a force that infiltrates your mind, your emotions, and your identity, slowly tightening its grip over your life. Understanding how lust feeds and grows stronger is key to breaking free from its chains. The more you resist without truly addressing the root causes, the stronger it becomes, leading you deeper into its trap. Lust is like a parasite that thrives on your weaknesses. It doesn't only target your body, it targets your thoughts, your insecurities, and your deepest longing. It begins subtly, with a glance or a fleeting thought. It may seem harmless at first, but the moment you entertain it, it begins to take hold. The more you indulge, the more it feeds. Lust grows through repetition. Every time you give in, every time you allow your mind to wander toward temptation, you reinforce the idea that fulfillment can be found in that momentary pleasure, and in doing so, you give it more power over you. The problem with lust is that it promises instant gratification, but delivers only emptiness. It convinces you that the fleeting satisfaction it offers is worth the loss of control, but it is always a lie. Lust feeds on your need for immediate pleasure and your inability to delay gratification. It tells you that you deserve it, that this is your moment, that you've earned this indulgence. But the aftermath is always the same: emptiness, guilt, and an ever-deepening sense of longing that can never be satisfied. The more you give in, the more that emptiness grows. Lust also thrives in isolation. The more you keep your struggles to yourself, the more power it gains. When you feel ashamed, when you try to hide the temptation, it festers in the darkness. This secret indulgence, this attempt to control the desire by suppressing it, only strengthens it. Lust doesn't operate in the light, it grows in the shadows, where secrets and shame reside. Keeping it hidden only gives it room to grow stronger, more consuming, and more dangerous. The lie is that you are alone in this struggle, but the truth is, others are facing the same battle, and the moment you share your struggle with trusted people is the moment you weaken its grip over you. Another way lust grows stronger is through unchecked access to temptation. In today's digital age, temptation is more accessible than ever. The internet, social media, and entertainment industries are filled with content designed to draw your attention toward lust. The more you expose yourself to it, the more your mind becomes conditioned to desire it. You begin to crave the images, the fantasies, the fleeting pleasures, and as your mind becomes accustomed to these indulgences, your tolerance grows, and what once seemed satisfying becomes insufficient. You need more, and with that need comes a stronger grip on your thoughts, emotions, and actions. It is a cycle that once started becomes harder and harder to break. Lust also grows because of your identity. When you begin to believe that this desire defines who you are, it becomes a part of your identity. You start to see yourself as someone who is always battling lust, someone who is weak and incapable of overcoming this struggle. You internalize the lie that this is who you are, that you are forever doomed to give in. This belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you see yourself as a slave to lust, the more you act like one. It's a dangerous feedback loop that reinforces the power lust has over you. However, the good news is that breaking free from lust is possible. Understanding how lust feeds and grows stronger is the first step toward defeating it. You don't have to stay trapped in this cycle. Lust doesn't define who you are. It's an external force that can be resisted, redirected, and ultimately overcome. The struggle for freedom requires you to confront the roots of lust, your mind, your heart, and your action. It requires discipline, vulnerability, and a willingness to break free from the things that fuel its growth. You must refuse to feed it, expose it to the light, and take proactive steps to resist its pull. The path to freedom is not easy, but it is entirely possible. The more you refuse to indulge in lust, the weaker it becomes. The more you step into the light, the less power it has over you. The more you rebuild your identity on the truth of who you are, the less it can define you. Freedom from lust isn't an event, it's a journey, a continuous fight, but it's a fight you can win. Understanding how lust feeds and grows stronger is the key to knowing how to starve it, weaken it, and eventually destroy it for good. 5. The high cost of indulgence. What you lose each time you fear. Every time you give in to lust, it feels like a temporary escape, a fleeting moment of satisfaction. You may tell yourself it's just once, or it doesn't really matter, but deep down, you know that each indulgence comes with a cost. What you lose in these moments isn't just the time or energy you spend, you lose parts of yourself. The consequences of yielding to lust are far deeper than most realize. affecting not just your physical being, but your mind, your relationships, and your future. The high cost of indulgence goes far beyond the immediate pleasure. It impacts the very core of who you are. The erosion of your integrity. One of the most significant losses is the erosion of your integrity. Integrity is the foundation of your character, the quality that ensures you remain true to your word, your values, and your beliefs. Every time you indulge in lust, you're undermining your ability to trust yourself. You compromise your standards, justifying actions that you know deep down are wrong. Each indulgence chips away at the moral fiber that holds you together, making it easier for you to make the same choices again. The more you surrender to lust, the more disconnected you become from the person you once wanted to be, and the harder it is to reclaim your integrity. Over time, you start to doubt yourself, question your worth, and become a mere shadow of the person you were meant to be. The destruction of peace. Lust doesn't just steal moments of clarity, it strips you of your peace. The inner turmoil that follows indulgence is far more destructive than any brief pleasure you might experience. Once you give in to lust, it's impossible to return to a state of peace immediately. There's a deep, gnawing sense of regret, guilt, and shame that accompanies each indulgence. The satisfaction you feel in the moment quickly turns into discomfort, and that discomfort doesn't just fade away, it lingers. Your peace is lost in that instant, and it can take days, weeks, or even months to rebuild it. The cost of that fleeting indulgence is a loss of tranquility, as the mind, now clouded by guilt, becomes a battleground for shame and self-loathing. Each act of indulgence compromises your ability to experience true, lasting peace. The strain on relationships. Indulging in lust doesn't just harm you, it harms the relationships you value most. Whether it's with a partner, a friend, or family, lust places a barrier between you and those you care about. When you give in to temptation, you are distancing yourself from meaningful connection. Lust thrives in secrecy and isolation, and the more you indulge, the more you retreat into your own world, hiding your shame and your choices from those closest to you. This creates distance, mistrust, and ultimately fractures relationships. Lust is a silent destroyer, creeping in and eroding the intimacy, trust, and connection you have with others. You might tell yourself that your indulgence is private or harmless, but it is. The impact is far-reaching, and often the people who love you the most are the ones who end up feeling the brunt of your decisions. Over time, this distance can be irreparable, causing you to lose the very relationships that matter. The damage to your self-worth. Lust steals more than your time. It chips away at your self-worth. The more you give in to your cravings, the more you start to see yourself as weak, unworthy, or even disgusting. You begin to define yourself by your failures instead of your potential. Lust tells you that you are nothing more than your desires, that your worth is tied to what you can satisfy in the moment. This twisted belief robs you of your true value and leaves you with a distorted self-image. As your sense of self-worth deteriorates, you become trapped in a cycle of indulgence, guilt, and self-punishment, each round reinforcing your feelings of inadequacy. Eventually, you may lose the ability to see yourself as someone worthy of love, respect, and dignity. The stealing of your future. The most insidious cost of indulging in lust is the damage it does to your future. Each indulgence delays your personal growth, the pursuit of your goals, and the fulfillment of your purpose. Lust keeps you stuck in a momentary escape from reality, preventing you from focusing on long-term objectives or building the future you truly want. Instead of advancing in your career, developing meaningful skills, or cultivating healthy habits, you are ensnared in a cycle of instant gratification that offers no true reward. Lust stunts your ability to think clearly and strategically about the future, draining your time and energy. The future you dream of becomes an illusion, as your attention and resources are diverted into chasing fleeting pleasures, rather than working towards something greater. The spiritual disconnect. Finally, and most importantly, lust damages your spiritual connection. Lust does not exist in a vacuum. It is tied to deeper spiritual desires that are being ignored or suppressed. By giving in to lust, you are essentially saying that your soul is not enough, that you need something outside of yourself to feel fulfilled. Over time, this disconnect can lead you to question your purpose, your beliefs, and your relationship with your higher power. The longer you indulge in lust, the more you distance yourself from the spiritual nourishment and growth that your soul truly craves. This spiritual disconnection is perhaps the most profound loss, for when you are disconnected from your true essence, you become lost, wandering without direction or meaning. The cost isn't worth it. The high cost of indulgence in lust is not always apparent in the moment, but it is deeply felt over time. Every choice you make shapes who you are and who you will become. Lust might offer a momentary escape, but it takes far more than you realize. Your integrity, your peace, your relationships, your self-worth, your future, and your spiritual connection. Each time you indulge, you're giving up pieces of yourself that are irreplaceable. The question then is whether that fleeting pleasure is truly worth what you stand to lose. When you weigh the cost, the answer becomes clear: it's not. 6. The path to redemption. Finding true freedom and identity. Breaking free from lust is not just about resisting temptation. It's about transformation. True freedom and identity come when you reconnect with your higher purpose and embrace who you were always meant to be. Lust lures you into believing your worth lies in fleeting pleasures, distracting you from your true self. To overcome this, you must first acknowledge that your value is not tied to your desires, but to the inherent dignity you possess as a person. The journey to redemption starts with recognizing that willpower alone won't cut it. Lust isn't merely an external temptation. It's a battle within, waged on your mind and soul. The key isn't to simply avoid lust, but to replace the emptiness it feeds on with something more fulfilling, a sense of self that is rooted in purpose, integrity, and strength. You must break free from the lie that indulgence leads to freedom. Lust offers an illusion of release that leaves you more enslaved each time you give in. True freedom comes from acknowledging your worth beyond immediate gratification, realizing that your long-term peace and identity are worth far more than a fleeting moment of pleasure. In this transformation, it's crucial to reconnect with your higher calling. Every person has a purpose that transcends their desires. When you begin to understand that your identity isn't tied to lust, but to your values, aspirations, and sense of self, you'll start to see real freedom. This is not a process of repression, but of reclamation, reclaiming the power to direct your desires in alignment with who you truly are. Additionally, this journey is not one you must take alone. Community plays a vital role in healing. Surrounding yourself with others who share a commitment to higher purpose and mutual accountability creates a support system that encourages growth and strength. The shared understanding that you're not alone in this battle helps you keep perspective and stay grounded in your journey toward freedom. Redemption doesn't happen overnight, but with consistent effort, a shift in mindset, and the courage to embrace your true identity, you can rise above the chains of lust. The road to freedom is a journey toward becoming the best version of yourself, a person of purpose, dignity, and strength. You were never meant to be defined by your cravings. You were made to walk in power, and that's where true freedom begins. Lust is a powerful force that seeks to strip away the very essence of who you are, dragging you into a cycle of emptiness that feels impossible to break. But the truth is, you have the power to rise above it. You are not defined by your desires, your past mistakes, or the temptations that try to ensnare you. Your true identity is found in your higher calling, your values, and your capacity for transformation. As you walk this path of redemption, remember that it's not a journey of mere willpower. It's a process of becoming the person you were always meant to be. It's about understanding that your freedom is found not in satisfying every craving, but in mastering your desires and living with purpose. This journey is challenging, but it's also one of profound freedom, a freedom that is not dictated by lust, but by the strength and clarity you gain when you align with your true self. Now, if you're ready to break free from the grip of lust and take control of your life, I want to offer you a powerful resource that will guide you through this journey. In my ebook, 7 Biblical Secrets to Destroy Lust Before It Destroys You, you'll discover practical, scripture-based strategies that can help you not just resist temptation, but destroy lust at its core. This isn't just about willpower. It's about using timeless biblical principles to fortify your mind and spirit against the forces that seek to steal your peace and identity. If you're serious about stepping into your true freedom and transforming your life, I invite you to check out the ebook in the description below. This is the moment to take action, to stop letting lust control your life, and start walking in the power and purpose you were created for. Don't wait for change. Make it happen now. Your transformation starts today.